Blessings and welcome to another Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today our read was out of 2 Samuel, it was chapters 13 and 14. So let's get right into it. Today's law enforcement takeaway for me as I read this was discipline. And if you read ahead, you know that the story is about David and his children and basically the lack of discipline from their father David. And there's a verse in the past that we'll look at that you kind of have to wonder if it was on David's mind or not. But for law enforcement, let's think about it this way. Who lacks discipline? Who of us wants to be disciplined and called out for something that we did wrong? Um, Not many of us. I don't like it either, but it is necessary. And as Christians who are always trying to be set apart and different from the world, we should have a different worldview of discipline. We should not look for discipline because that means we may be trying to do something wrong to get discipline. But when discipline comes and when correction comes, that we should have the attitude to take it to self-improve, to see where we need to fix things and better ourselves. There's a lot of proverbs I'm gonna read as soon as I get through this, and still try and keep this in time. But anyway, today in 13:21, David hears about the rape of his daughter Tamar from one of his sons. Now they have different mothers, but they're still his children. Um, the Bible doesn't tell us that David did anything after learning about this rape except getting angry. He doesn't discipline anybody. So Tamar's brother with the same mother is Absalom, and Absalom decides that he's going to wait for the perfect opportunity and he'll take his own revenge. He doesn't see any justice coming from his father. Now, keep that in mind because we will see that crop up again later on as we get further down the road in some of our reads, that Absalom did not see any discipline or justice come from his father David. Um, but I have to wonder, in 2 Samuel 7, 12, and 14, God's telling David that David's going to have a descendant who's going to sit on the throne. And David's going to have a descendant that's going to build the temple. But David doesn't know which one of his children God has chosen yet. So um, God goes on to tell him, he says, I will be a father to him and he will be a son to me. And when he commits iniquity, I will correct him with the rod of men and the strokes of the sons of men. In other words, God says, I'll discipline him myself. So when this comes up, you almost wonder if David just sits back and says, well, God, you said you're going to discipline him, so I'll just wait to see what you do. If God has put you in a position of being a father or leader or police officer, you are in a position of responsibility. And yes, you should pray to God and you should ask him to intervene. But at the same time, if he's called you to do something, you do what you're told to do until you're told not to do it by God himself. Um, But anyway, some of the proverbs that should speak to us as law enforcement about discipline. Proverbs 6:23 says, for the commandment is a lamp and a teaching is light. And reproof for discipline are the ways of life. We need to keep those things in mind. Proverbs 13:1, a wise son accepts his father's discipline, but a scoffer does not listen to rebuke. We don't want to be scoffers. The Bible doesn't like scoffers. Proverbs 13:24 says, he who withholds his rod hates his son, but he who loves him disciplines him diligently. And one more, Proverbs 19:20 says, listen to the counsel and accept discipline, that you may be wise the rest of your days. Hey, when your staff or administration or supervisors come down on you and discipline you, try and look at it from a biblical sense of taking that discipline, correcting yourself so you'll be better next time. Plus, the attitude you have when you accept discipline will catch people off guard. It'll get their attention and it'll make them recognize what a wise person you are. Uh, we don't want to do these for selfish gains. We want to do these to glorify God. That's our purpose. So you guys be safe out there, and I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's read is 2 Samuel 15, 16, and 17. So read up, and I'll see you tomorrow.